Hey everybody, welcome back. Now we're going to jump right into it. Our last video we did the 4 quests inside of Korthos. Now we have some quests outside. I do want to point out this one here, as soon as we complete the collaborator, which was the last quest we did, and the one right here in the tavern, it gives us access to this quest here from Merla. Now, this quest is a very unique item. You can actually purchase a special item. Vintage Old Sully Grog is available only through the DDO store. So this kind of gives you your introduction to their store. So, what this allows us to do is purchase this item here. It's actually currently on sale for just only 4 points. So we're going to go grab that. And what this allows us to do, we can actually talk to her. And we can turn in here. So we can actually use this item here. And get a Cure Light Wounds. So she says right here, in any case, you can go to the Korthos Village pier and help them find this item. So I wasn't really reading. I don't generally do this specific one here, as I don't really need the reward, and it doesn't actually give us our favor. So on the pier here, here's our person. We can actually turn that item in, and it gives you a Siberi's cake. Now, this actually is a nice little handy item that if you die, it can give you a resurrection. Now, why this is really cool that they do this here, you can actually purchase these cakes straight away on the store. Now, if you'll notice here, this was essentially 4 store points to purchase, as it only was 4 to buy the grog. Generally it's 5, but it was on sale. Our cakes, however, so we just have the starter cake, which is one of these. Starter just means that it cannot be obtained any other way and is bound to your character. So if you look at the very top, it's underneath the name, bound to a character, minimum level, bound to character on acquire. So it shows that as soon as you obtain this item, it is bound to you. Now, we paid on sale 4 store points, normally 5. Naturally, this item is 195 points. So, that's quite a discounted sale. You can only get one per character every time you come through. So I can't just go back and re-pick up the quest, get another one, and keep going. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and grab level. So, to take levels, you need to find your trainers. Now, they are located on the map by these little feathers. I think they're supposed to be like a quill, but they just look like a little feather here. And if you hover over top of them, it does state which ones are which. So our bard, druid, monk, rogue, wizard, and warlock trainers are located over here. Our barbarian, cleric, favored soul, and paladin trainers are located over here. And then finally our artificer, fighters, rangers, and sorcerers are located over here. So we are going to grab more artificer. Now, the artificer ones and the druid ones are unique in the fact that it actually lets you train your pet. Now, we haven't actually pulled one out yet. I'll actually do that right now. So we have these options right here: Unleash Iron Defender and Revive Iron Defender. So the druids and the artificer, they are the 2 class that actually get this additional pet, which, as you see, it gives us a whole new bar here. for pet control. Now, classes like the wizard, they have their summons, and actually can get a skeleton pet, but they don't actually get the bar like we do with our iron defenders. Now on here, we actually have a pet option, which we can then go into, view the pet's statistics, can even rename the pets, as well as equip it an armor and a weapon. And the same goes for the wolves that you can get for the druids. Now the weapons, they're all the same. They're essentially a collar. The armors, they do differ between the wolf and the artifice dog here, the iron defender. On the iron defenders, you want docents, the same type of weapon, same type of armor, sorry, that you would be wearing if you were a warforged. And then the wolves, they wear leather armors. Alright, here, so I've got them summoned. Now what we're going to do here quick is we're going to first advance as our level. So I'm just going to go through the list here. Now as you gain more base intelligence stats, the amount of points you get will increase. If you notice, we took a point in everything that we had earlier, still have 1 point left over. Now for this specific build, at this point, this is when I actually start taking points into spellcraft, which does help to increase a little bit of damage that I get for some of these spells, as it gives you +1 spell power to these types. Now it doesn't help our repair spell power, which will eventually become our healing, or our devotion for healing either. It's more for your damage types. Alright, so we're going to go to next. It allows us to pick up spells. If you'll notice, we have a considerably smaller list here to choose from now. That's because I actually had gone through and inscribed all the scrolls for this level, as well as the other 5 levels of spells that we get, as we get a total of 6 levels. So we got 1 spell to choose from. We'll grab that one there. And there we go. Now it did give us 1 more spell slot, which I can put something in here in a minute. I also want to point out that this is where we would go to trainer pet. Now the AI, I do want to point this out, the AI for the dogs tends to bug out a lot. So personally, I don't often use the dogs, other than to go pull levers that I might not have the strength for, or just to be a general distraction. However, I do want to point out that they do have some alignment-based ones, which actually change the alignment of your pet. So if we go here, it's not actually showing our alignment. But by selecting these ones here, so that we have good, evil, lawful, chaotic. So what we can do is we can be chaotic, which is hunter of boxes. This will actually cause our dog to... Oop, I hit the wrong button. This will actually cause our dog to run around and actively try and find and break these boxes. Now, as an artifice, I personally really enjoy him doing this when it wants to work. We also have other abilities such as Intimidate, which will drag enemies off of you and onto the dog. Or you can even go the opposite direction and have him bluff, which takes them off of him and onto another target, allowing for sneak attack. So it really does let you pick which way you want to go. I generally go now for the more armor class and damage reduction. As we get higher levels and spend more points into the pet, it does open up more options for us for what he can do. such as increasing his core stats like strength and dexterity. Right now, I'm actually going to leave the naming of the pet. If you guys have any suggestions for a good name here, feel free to drop a message in the chat below, and you know, I might end up choosing your name. All right, here. So we've gone through and done that. Now, every point, so if you'll notice here on the bottom where it has our level, we have these empty spheres here. Each sphere that we fill, we do earn a new action point. So we now have 4 extra action points to spend. Now for this class, specifically, I spend them to start in the Harper tree. I find it gives us a lot more damage output early game than this one does. This one has some of our more late game features that I do appreciate, such as the melee power for ranged, melee and ranged power while you use a rune arm, which we will always be wearing, as well as just some other features. Okay, so there's our rune arm. Now, naturally, we get the rune arms at other times. Actually, after completing one of these quests out here for the Korthos Wilderness. But, as again, I'm not new to this game, I've already gone through and earned them. I'm just going to go ahead and use them. So, for now, I'm actually going to go ahead and dismiss the pet. So this is another thing. If you look at our bar, so we have our hit points, our mana, and then right underneath we have our Iron Defender's hit points. If we actually right-click anywhere on our hit point bars, we can actually dismiss the pet. It's kind of adorable. It puts him back in his crate, and he's gone. So we're going to start by just picking up these quests. One more over here. There we go. So now this is a wilderness. Now wilderness are level locked. You can only ever enter them on a normal difficulty. At least at the time of recording this, that's all I have. And what it is it's a kind of a free roam area that allows us to just kill enemies and find various explorer points. Some of them, such as this one here, they do have quests. In fact, most of them have some quests out in them.
A hidden entrance to an underground complex.
So yeah, we're gonna just jump right in and start this one here, stopping this Valagar. Alright, so the first thing to note here is once you enter in...
The air grows damp and fetid as the ancient tunnel descends.
Alright, and once you enter in and step on the waterfall here, it's going to actually spawn in a couple of guys behind you. So if we just walk backwards here... okay, so not quite the waterfall, just slightly before. But as you'll see, it did spawn in 2 enemies here that were not there previously. So just be prepared and ready for that. Now, personally, I like letting them hit the gong. There are a few quests that, and all that does is actually bring in some additional enemies for you to take out.
The tunnel splits here. Which way to the giant device?
Alright, it's not going to auto-search it. Auto-search only ever seems to pick up so many of them. up these. Once we do, it has these levers.
You hear
As
a
we
gate
open these
ratcheting
levers,
open
it
somewhere
also
behind
spawns in these methods, so just watch yourself here.
you. You hear a gate ratcheting open somewhere behind you.
Alright. So now it has a path leading in both directions. Now, this is something that I do think is awesome. Before, once you'd pick a path, that would be it. It wouldn't reopen the door here for you. Now, however, once you complete a side, it'll actually backtrack you and open up this door again. So we're going to start with this side to get the trap. We're going to kill the enemy. And then as soon as we pull this valve here, it opens up doors on both sides. So I'm going to head back around. Obviously this is not something that you need to do. This just lets us go to both sides and get the full bonus. Which is very important, especially for my character here, to get these extra little bonus experience. Because as you TR...
You hear ratcheting machinery. The sound of distant snoring warns you that you are not alone here. If you're careful, you may be able to take the sleeping guards by surprise.
Alright, so as you TR, when you get to like your second life, basically you go from 20 back down to 1, and then to your third life and third life beyond, you actually require more experience to level up. So on a second life, you require an additional 50% experience.
But what are they guarding?
And then on third life and third life plus,
in this room looks capable of truly ear-shattering noise.
Third life and third life plus, it actually requires you to have 100% more. So you need 2 times the amount of experience to level that a first life character does. So getting these extra little bonus experience definitely helps. And if you are a first life character, well, that's still that much more experience that you earn. Alright. So what I want to point out here, if you don't have the search and spot to be able to find this hidden door here, don't worry, it's not like it locks you out. Once you pull that valve and this valve over here, it does open that door. Once in here, I do recommend closing this door here, as that will shut off the air jet trap here. Now they do have a valve right here. This one actually activates the trap here. So if we hit it again, it's going to go off. Other than that, it doesn't do anything. The main one here, this valve here, will actually open and close this door here. As it's already opened, it's not going to go off. But what we're wanting here is our warning gong.
With the gong's reverberations, you hear a slight rumble from the larger room, but then it stops.
So we got to hit it a total of twice.
The second strike of the gong produces
and then it actually
the
breaks down
sound
our
of
floor here.
cracking ice.
Now, one thing I do want to point out is if you do use the hidden door here, and you just come in and ring the bell, it will only let you ring the bell once, until you kill all the sleeping Swahagan guards. Once you do kill them all, then it'll allow you to go through and ring the bell a second time. You do not have to pull the 2 valves. Those are only required to open up the door, not to unlock the gong. Once you do pull it and open up to the bottom, there are 2 levers on the east, or 1 lever on the east and west side that we need to pull. And yes, I know I'm on the west. When I was pointing to the other side, the directions were mixed up. I am aware of that. Just speech pattern, I always say east and west. East and then west. Yeah. So once you pull both of those valves to the south here, it opens up our door, and if you'll look, it does show our two gems, showing that both of them have been lit up and opened.
You spot a rusty hatch submerged in the putrid water. You emerge from the murky water with great relief. The air seems slightly cooler here.
Alright, so this part here, as you can see, there is a hidden door here. If we continue up the path, they will actually open this door and come after you. So it's sometimes better to just take out the threat before it becomes more of an issue. So taking them out now, it will free up there, as well as it does open up the shrines. So a little bit further up.
As we ford ahead. The giantish device must be near.
So there we got our full bonus here for ransack, for secret bonus. We don't have the full onslaught bonus yet, but we'll get there. Now the chest in here, it gives you some sort of a name to boot. There are some good ones here. This one here will give you 3-point damage reduction to cold-based attacks, which really isn't a very large bonus. And overall, I mean, grand scheme of things, the boots that you get here aren't overly great, but at this point you don't really have any boots, so something is always better than nothing. And another thing I want to point out is, if you'll notice, as it's already searching those boxes here, there's another one on this side. Right at the top of the waterfall,
ahead is the giantish device.
There is some traps.
The freezing mists it is spewing are directed
We're going to grab this, which is now giving us our trap bonus here. And it does seem that killing the spider gave us our conquest bonus. So now here's another puzzle that we have. Our objective is to, which is a very, very large troll. I'm actually kind of curious as to the specifics on that creature, as it doesn't actually let us in here. It's locked, can't be picked. And basically we're supposed to take the lights away from these ones here and aim them at these ones here, which will then refreeze the giant troll. And this one here is actually kind of a 3D puzzle, as it has both on the top as well as around the sides here as well. So I'll just quickly...
The mist solidifies into ice over the ancient creature, but it's not enough. You need both jets to affect a thing of this size. A layer of ice forms over the ancient creature, guaranteeing its slumber.
Alright, so there we go.
Korthos is safe.
And as you can see, it does add that little extra. Now I do want to point out, these traps, they do hurt if you were to walk in them, so just watch yourself there. And from there we just go ahead and recall out. And that is totally a feature I love having, is this little finish button, or recall button, depending on area. So it was finished while we were in the quest. Now it says recall, rather than having to run to the beginning of the quest every time. It gives us that option. Now, when we picked up all the quests, we don't actually have to run back, turn each one in every time. later videos I will do that because it will get down to one quest, one video. But for Korthos, as a lot of them are very short videos, we're going to be doing, as you've noticed with the last video, we're going to be doing them in a kind of a few of them together here. So what I do want to point out, the quest we just did, if we were to run back to it there, it would give us a helmet as a reward. There are a few of them. Overall, again, nothing super spectacular. But, you know, again, if you don't have it, it's still better than nothing. Alright, so the next quest that I always do, from here, drop down there, run up and around, we now have Hayton's quest, which is Redemption. Now,
you
this
enter
quest
one
is
of the laboratories where decades ago House Caneth first entered. Your way ahead has been boarded up. Oddly, the work looks very recent.
Now, this quest has gone through some undertaking over the years, and I'll point out some of those changes here. Alright, so next to the blade trap here, let's kill this guy. We do have a trap box to disable them. As well, we also had a secret door here. If you notice that this poison jet here, we can actually turn them off by using these valves. So we still have one more there, and actually if we go down right here, we'll get the second valve, which also gives us a tiny bit of experience. So grab those boxes, then we'll head back up and go through here. Now, through here, we just have a few boxes. Ultimately, it just takes us around in a giant circle, but it also has a second trap box. I'm just going to do a search. There's our second trap box. It'll disable all that, making it free. So it kind of gives you the choice of which path you want to take, or you can do like I did and go both. If you have a party, of course, you can split up. This is a minor one here. Later on, there are quests that actually have two distinct different paths, which I'll definitely go through both of them to show you guys, as I do want to bring you a full walkthrough guide and what to expect, not just the one I normally take, but all the options available to you guys.
A magical bell, humming with compressed energy, resolutely blocks your path. You hope you can find a way to disable it.
Alright, so what I want to point out, as I'm sure you can notice the difference there, this big chunk of rock right there, there actually used to be a door right up top here. Way back in the day, and you'd actually take a ladder up and it would let you get in to the end fight through like a secret path kinda, but they no longer allow you to go that route, kinda changing it up. As the game progresses, they progress here with you.
Icy jets of some alchemical compound coat these
Alright, so in this room, it's got a whole bunch of valves to pull.
You hear a definite alteration
Nothing
in the pitch of the hiss
really special
as the
here.
gas struggles to flow around your obstruction. Without the alchemical jets coating the Canith power crystals, you can now easily, as the last crystal shatters, the hum of power slowly fades into a heavy silence.
Now, one thing I want to point out here is this door right here to the west. It does have 2 iron defenders in, which we actually might have locked ourselves in. So they're in a giant cage here. Now, iron defenders, they have a unique ability which basically casts grease in like a little spray. This will cause you to slip and slide if you don't have freedom of movement or a high balance skill. The door is locked. If you can pick it, it lets you in. We were lucky. If he was any closer to the door, we actually sometimes you can get locked out based on where they're standing. So as you can see, they are now statuesque, as we had broken the power crystals. If we were to kill them first, if before we hit those power crystals we were to come in here, these dogs would be active and we could kill them. This actually goes through for all those dogs throughout the quest. The ones here that we killed and towards the beginning, if we run past them and break those crystals, they just become statues. Alright, so here is the end of the quest.
Who in the flame are you?
Now, I do want to point out this part here can be a little challenging again for parties who don't have high DPS or damage per second, as well as parties that don't have healing. Basically, Lars Hayton can die in this fight. Your objective is to keep him alive, and basically protect him.
Oh no, the Sawagan found me.
Suddenly the air shimmers with devourer magic. The Sahagan have followed you in and are attacking. He carries light in your hands.
Wouldn't have said so few after.
So as you can see here on his hit bar, he is now injured. But it's not too bad yet.
It'll take more than that. Sawagan are still blocking our escape.
As well as
Watch
his
for more attacks.
robot buddy Amalgam is also injured. And it does do a few waves here, so just be prepared. They eventually have a kind of a boss at the end.
Sawagan scum, keep coming. I won't die.
He's
that
taking a little bit
easily.
more damage. As you can see here, certain waves are supposed to take a little bit longer than others.
Now we'll see what I have to deal with. Once the Sawagan get your scent, they won't stop until you're dead.
But our character here is a little bit stronger than most.
We might actually get through this. Just hold for a little longer.
Alright, so we got one more wave to go. At least I believe it's only one until the end of the quest. Yes, there's our boss there, the Morumdul. Once he drops,
Magic is gone. We beat them off.
down goes barrier.
Hayden
wants
looks
to
weary
talk.
after surviving this latest attack. Perhaps you should talk to him again.
So one thing I want to point out, if you go to recall before a quest is completed, one, it'll say recall rather than finish. Two, it will pop you up with this notification here letting you know that quest is not complete. If you choose to leave, one, you don't get experience. If you re-enter, you lose your re-entry bonus. Or you might just lose all progress and have to start over. And if you're leaving for any particular reason, like arrows It wants to point out that they do have in the store that you can get without leaving. So obviously we don't want to leave just yet. The reason I brought this up is actually if we start talking to Lars here, and we go through this here, I'll wait until we meet again, Lars Hayton. When this window closes, if we actually hit recall and start the process of recalling now, the quest will actually complete before it finishes. So it'll save you a little bit of time rather than waiting for it to finish and then recalling. Gives you a couple extra seconds. Alright. So next we have another quest just out here. In fact, we have 2 more quests out here before we get to like the final quest of Korthos. Alright, here. Okay. So it is actually located just down this little ravine here. A little bit of lag. Ooh. Where? Alright, so it's actually just located just down here at the end of this side. Now, as I have an item called Feather Falling, which allows us to essentially slow fall without taking damage. If you don't, this cliff might be a little bit too far to drop. Trick to this is if you actually hover in these corners and like walk forward and just slide down, a lot of times you can avoid taking damage, or at least reduce the amount of damage that you take.
The decrepit catacombs are slightly obscured by the falling water. You enter a musty hall, heavy with silence and the weight of dark stone.
Alright. So now we come across one of the most annoying creatures in the game. Bats. Now, reason why they're annoying, if you don't get them killed right when they spawn in, and they start moving, they actually become fairly hard to target for range, and even sometimes with melee.
The sense of rot and decay
good ways to kill them are spells that are AoE spells, or abilities such as Cleave, which attack in an area of effect, making it real easy to hit them as they can't avoid that damage.
As the secret door slides open, you see a magical cell across the chamber. Could it be Holy Jerusalem?
Alright, and again, there are 2 paths. If you have a party and both sides are competent, you can actually send them both directions. As we're currently not running with the party, I'm just running solo, we're going to head off this way here. And this is what I mean by they get hard to hit. Once you kill everything, you can pull the lever on this side. There's also one on the other side, which we'll now go for. And it does light up these. So here's an easy way. In most cases, if you forget a lever, it will point you to which direction you have forgotten. So we got this one here. So the left light is lit up, so it shows the right one is not. We still need to pull this lever. So it's little subtle clues like that to kind of help you out for which ones you missed. go through and pull this, it'll light up our gem there, as well as over our door here. And now for the box.
Be. Jacoby Drexelhand stands before you, not alive, but not quite dead. He as he swears vengeance upon you. Drexelhand spits a curse and swears to return again before collapsing in a heap of bones. You take the cell key from his remains.
So I do want to point out that this here is a standard character model for, you know, whites. And basically, yeah, what happened is that's the Drexelhand from the Collaborator quest, and he's just basically arisen as an undead creature. Once he dies, he gives you the key to be able to free Drusen. And then we got one more chest here. Here's our end chest. It is stuck behind a locked door, so you will need somebody who is able to either open lock or knock the door, such as a caster. And yeah, in this chest, they give you a named glove. Now, one of them, not this one here, will actually give you a shield clicky. Now, these are handy. Basically, clicky items are items that you can put on your bar, such as like my mask here, or these 4 items here, which actually give you an activatable effect. Now, the activatable effect for that item is shield, hence shield clicky. You click it to get shield. Very original, I know. Once you click this, it grants you shield, which is a handy ability. It actually makes you immune to the spell Magic Missile,
The decrepit catacombs
which is a
are
fairly
slightly
common
obscured
spell
by the falling
that
water.
enemies use. So look, the rare's up again. So there is that there. Alright, so next we're going to continue along the path.
The rumbling falls converge into a small body of water.
All the way up to this bridge here. Instead of crossing it, we're actually going to cross this way. Alright. Alright, just up the hill, we'll actually find our final quest out here. Well, semi-final quest. We do have one more, but we'll get to that last
This
one in the
entrance leads
next
down
video.
to an ancient Cannith aqueduct.
So here we are. Final quest. One thing to note is, even after all this time, this game is still constantly changing and evolving, adding in new features, new content. They actually have been doing a great job at keeping it up to date, generally releasing new content or patch updates fairly often. And they even have more plans, actually within the relative near future, for their new content pack called the Feywild, which is bringing out some new quests, even a new class, and stuff like that. Why I bring this up is
Resilient spider
these
webs
spider
block your
webs here.
path. They don't look
You
capable
never
of
used to be able to
withstanding
shoot them
blows
with
from your
ranged
weapon.
weapons. You would have to use a melee style weapon to break them. So this is one of the updates that they did for ease of life for ranged type
cells in
characters.
this room
Rather
hold a
than
number
having
of
to
desperate
unequip your
Korthos
weapon,
villagers.
re-equip it, it just lets you go through it. Alright, so now in this area here, if you notice we have some prisoners and an option to rescue them. In order to rescue them, you do need to open the gates up. Now, you can pull this lever here, which will change the positioning of the gates. I do want to point out that these minions here will actually go and change the position of it. So I've had a few times where I'd be running across, they would change it, I'd fall into the water. This can be avoided. Actually, if you, rather than cross the bridge this way, if you just jump, you can actually walk across this ledge here and jump onto here, never needing to change the position here. Once you pull this lever, it opens up this door straight across. Now I do want to point out, sometimes there will actually spawn a named creature, a named Swahagan in here for you to fight, giving you just a little extra experience. Either way, you can pull this lever, it opens up the gate on this side and that side for you to just talk to and rescue these people. Now they all have the same dialogue option, minus one person, who is the main reason we're here, who is Arissa. Everyone else, have my prayers been answered? Are you freeing me? You're free to go. You know, please I can't stand, you're free to go. Your good artificers aim to return, you are free to go. Like, it doesn't really do anything. All your only dialogue option is to let them know that yes, they're free. Now, one thing that a lot of players don't know, or generally don't care about, I'm more for the don't care, there actually is a locked door in the water here. There are some levers that you can pull to open up these various doors. So if you look here, there's yellow, which opens up yellow. Red to open red. This unlocks this lever here. Pulling this lever lights up the white path. And then same thing here. Pull the levers. So there's a lot of lever pulling is essentially what it comes down to. Now, if you don't want to go through all this hassle here of pulling and opening that, you can actually go to this door right here and just pick the lock, bypassing all this lever pulling. But I like it because it gives you the option to go through and pull them to open up the chest. That way, if you don't have the ability to pick locks, you still can get to and unlock this chest. Again, most people just generally tend to go more towards skipping that chest, as it does take a little bit of time, but we wanted to take you through and show you everything here. Now, on the ways of optional content and optional loot, if you actually are able to make your way across these beams here, to the end, it actually has an optional skeleton mage here. I do want to point out, be a little careful, he can be a little difficult at level. I know when I first started, he'd given me quite trouble. And he can drop some items here. Nothing named, no special loot, but I mean, an extra chest and some extra experience. Once you either drop down, fall, or just come down the initial ladder there, it will spawn in some Swahagan in this little corridor. Again, feel free to take them out. Through this door is just a shrine. I'm not going to bother going through there. At the top of the ladder here, if we were to head off to the right, we actually have a pretty nasty trap. However, as you're seeing with the placement of the spikes in the blade, if you actually come down this path here, or even right along the far left wall, you actually don't get hit by the trap. So if you don't have a trapper, don't fret, just hug the left wall here, and you can walk right through the trap, no problem. Because I am a trapper, however, we're grabbing that control panel.
You have breached the Devourer's sanctum. From ahead you hear a woman's plaintive cry for help.
Alright. So now we have two more paths here. One to the north, one to the west. Orisa can actually be down either path, so we will be going down both of them here. Down the path to the west, you actually have a named enemy. This guy always is here.
The evil cult leader will spill innocent blood no more.
And sometimes Orisa will be in this kind of altar here. Clearly she's not here this time, so we can just grab our chest, go ahead and leave. Because she's not there, it does mean she is out to the north. A couple more break rules. Alright, there's a ransack. So here it has a fast track to leave. We can click this, and of course if we click yes, it would kick us out. And then we have a lever. Now in one of these prison cells, so there she was there. She's sometimes there. She can be in this one here kneeling. Again, it is semi-random as she has a couple of places that she can spawn. So what we'll do here is we'll just finish freeing these people. And you do gotta talk to them. If you don't, just opening the door, which I find hilarious. Open the door, you're free to go. No one will move until you talk to them. And then we have Orisa here, so we'll just let her go. Quest complete. Now that we're complete, if we're on this side, we can actually just click this rope. Takes us right out of the quest. From here, this is our last quest out here that we can do without turning in the quest. So we're now going to recall back to town and turn in these quests. It's just one moment while we're going through those processes here. Now again, I generally do them all, come to town, turn them in. Some people again do one at a time, come back, turn in, come back, turn in. It really comes down to your own play style. So this quest here from Ursa, this is the turn in for Redemption. This is the one where we had to protect Lars Hayton and stop him from dying. This one is actually required to continue the Korthos storyline, and the only one required. So when we enter in the Slayer area, if all we did is this one, it would give us access to the last part, which is Misery's Peak. And that one we'll actually get into our next video, but this is the only one required. Now, this is the unique quest. There are two main pieces of loot. If you are an Artifice, this is actually where you get your first rune arm that you can use, which is the Thought Spike. As well, if you're not an Artie, another great piece is the Feather Cloak, because at this point you generally don't have a feather falling item. Because this is not our first life, I've done several before, and it does allow us to keep all your loot that you've obtained throughout your playthrough. I have an item that permanently grants that feather falling, but this one is a clicky item, so these are those clickies I was talking about, which temporarily gives you feather falling for a total of 30 seconds, as you can read there in the description. So if you don't have, oh, I gotta turn it in there. So if you don't have it, it's great to pick one up.
Your finding transformed the village. It seems as if all of Korthos were holding out for news of your next great victory with bated breath.
Alright, so the other quest here is Necromancer's Doom. This is the one that had the bats, the levers, and where we ran into Jacoby Drexelhand for the second time. And then we have the mayor of the town. This is where we had to, the one we had actually just completed, where we had to go protect his daughter and rescue her from the cult leader. Now this one here, as well as the very last one in the chain, actually gives you a unique reward, as these are set items. So if we hover over top, for example, for mine, I'm an arty, I'm a trapper, the troubleshooter's goggles. So it has the first effect, there's troubleshooter. So this pair of goggles is one of two pieces of the troubleshooter set. When you have both the full set in this case, other items will give you partial bonus for partial set. So this one, two pieces, you need the full set. Once you have it, gives you an extra bonus to fortitude, reflex, and willpower, as well as it gives you +3 to your open locks and disable devices. So we're going to grab those ones here. As a trapper, it is handy to have trapping, bonuses to your trapping. Alright, so we have one last quest to turn in. So, one thing I'm going to point out, right when we enter it, the first time we did, though this guy was standing here, his cup was kind of just silhouetted. It wasn't a solid gold cup, so we weren't actually able to pick up that one yet. So I'm going to leave that one for now, as we're going to leave that one for the next video. That is for our big one there. And if you heard that ding, that's someone sending me a tell, which we'll get to in just a minute here once we're done the video. So this one here, this is for the very first quest that we had done, the stopping the Swahagan. This is the list of helmets. My personal recommendation, if you are a caster, I go with the straw hat. It gives you bonus to your concentration, which is your ability to cast spells without being interrupted and having them stopped. The other option I go with is the battered helm, giving you 1 point to your haggle, which will actually allow you to sell things for a little bit better. So the higher your haggle score, the more you can sell items for. You do have other abilities such as concentrate and diplomacy. That's another good one for in place of the straw hat. And then the engraved circlet. This just gives you bonus to your will save. So I'm going to grab my battered helmet, put that on. So I'm going to head back into town here, and we'll actually leave the video off there. So this has been the Korthos Outside quest. Now we still have the final one to Korthos, which we'll get to in the next video, and then we'll continue on with the other quests in the game. Hope you guys are enjoying, and I will catch you guys later. Have a good one all.